As they lumbered forward into the ghastly twilight, their ragged forms barely discernible through the unnatural haze, their heads hung low, obscuring their faces. But occasionally one would lift up its head, revealing a grotesque visage that defied description. Some skulls were adorned with swirling nebulous shapes, while others were completely devoid of features, like smooth white gourds. Yet from some, faces stared back, twisted and sorrowful, trapped forever in silent screams. The onlookers, if they could be called that, remained motionless, their bodies fixed in an eternal tableau of terror. They had no choice but to keep moving forward, propelled by unseen forces towards their unknown destination. The street was choked with fog, so thick it seemed to have a physical presence, muffling all sound and distorting the already distorted forms of the buildings. Above them, the sky was a canvas of bruised purples and sickly yellows, a macabre sunset that bled into the endless night. Every few moments, a face would appear at the top of the building, peering down at the procession before disappearing into the darkness. These fleeting glimpses were both horrifying and mesmerizing, like glimpses into a nightmare shared between the buildings themselves. From time to time, a single figure would break from the ranks, staggering or collapsing, only to be dragged back into line by unseen hands. The ground beneath their feet was a mosaic of cracked concrete and twisted metal, littered with refuse that had been ground down to dust by countless footsteps. In the distance, a siren wailed, a mournful cry that echoed the despair frozen in the faces of the marchers. This desolate landscape was a testament to decay, a physical manifestation of a world gone wrong. It was a city lost to whatever horrors had birthed its creatures, a place where flesh and technology had melded into a nightmarish fusion. Each step the creatures took sent tremors through the decaying city, shaking loose more flakes of rust and grime. The very air they breathed seemed to sizzle with an unnatural energy, crackling with an unseen power. And yet there was a strange harmony in their movements, a chilling synchronicity that spoke of a unity born from some unspeakable source. The deeper they ventured into the city's decaying heart, the thicker the fog grew, until it was a tangible presence, a living thing that seeped into their ranks, concealing their forms and amplifying their otherworldly aura. Within this spectral procession, amidst the cracked skulls and glowing orbs, there was a disturbing uniformity, a sameness that was unnerving. Each creature seemed a distorted reflection of the others, their differences minimized in the gloom. The very nature of their march suggested a purpose, a grim and terrible objective that lay hidden in the fog ahead. The absence of individuality within this group was unsettling, implying a chilling level of control and conformity that defied comprehension. And then there was the silence. It wasn't an absence of noise, but a heavy, oppressive soundlessness that pressed down on everything, muffling even their own footsteps. In this eerie quietude, the whisper of the wind through the skeletal buildings carried tales of a world lost to madness. Amidst this macabre tableau, a lone figure stood out, or rather stumbled. He was smaller than the others, his form more emaciated, his gait more unsteady. His head, when he dared to raise it, revealed a skull that was either empty or obscured by shadow, leaving those who saw him to wonder what horrors might lie within the abyss of his face. His fellow marchers seemed to sense his weakness, for he was frequently pulled back from the brink of collapse, steadied by unseen hands or voices. He was an anomaly in this procession, a discordant note in a symphony of suffering. As he struggled to maintain his place in the ranks, he inadvertently broke the unsettling rhythm, drawing attention to himself and making him a focal point in this macabre parade. His very humanity, if it had ever existed, seemed to be ebbing away, replaced by something alien and terrible. He appeared to be fighting against something, perhaps against the unseen forces that compelled the others, or perhaps against the disintegration of his own humanity. Despite being part of this procession, he remained apart, a solitary figure wrestling with his fate in a world that had turned inside out. Within this procession of suffering, he became a symbol of resilience, however fragile, and by extension, a target. The city around them, if it had once been a place of life and light, now served as a fitting backdrop for this descent into madness. The towering structures loomed over the marchers like skeletal giants, their vacant windows like vacant eyes staring into the abyss. In this ruined setting, the line of figures seemed even more pronounced, a stark contrast against the decaying grandeur, a gash of flesh and bone amidst the ruins. It was as though the buildings themselves were watching, silently bearing witness to the unfolding horror. The city, once a symbol of human achievement, now stood as a monument to ruin, mirroring the broken forms of the creatures that moved through its streets. The very essence of the city seemed to have been corrupted, twisting its familiar features into something sinister and alien. In this corrupted landscape, the distinction between man and beast, between life and death, blurred beyond recognition. The ground beneath their feet rumbled, not from their steps, but from some distant, ominous source. This unsettling tremor seemed to emanate from the earth itself, as if the planet, too, were in torment. The creatures continued their slow, unwavering march, seemingly oblivious to the vibrations that shook the very foundations of the city. For them, the tremors were but another layer of torment, another sensation to endure in their relentless descent into whatever awaited them in the heart of the fog. The city, with its groaning structures and subterranean rumblings, became a character in itself, a malevolent force that tested the creature's resolve with every step. It was as if the city, corrupted and broken, were trying to reclaim what was lost, to bring down those who mirrored its own decay. Yet the creatures pressed on, their forms silhouetted against the dying light, their heads a chorus of cracked skulls and glowing orbs, moving inexorably toward a fate that remained shrouded in mist and dread. The city, once a testament to human ambition, now stood as a tomb, its crumbling grandeur a fitting resting place for these creatures of nightmare. Within its ruined embrace, the line of figures became a procession of souls, each step echoing the lament of a world lost to darkness. But in the midst of this descent into oblivion, the faintest glimmer of defiance flickered. The small figure, though battered and diminished, continued to stumble forward, a solitary spark of resistance in a sea of despair. He was a testament to the tenacity of life, however corrupted, a reminder that even in the darkest depths, the will to survive persisted. The very fog seemed to recoil slightly at the sight of the lone figure, as if it too sensed the last vestiges of humanity that still clung to him. The fog, which had been an oppressive blanket, momentarily thinned, revealing glimpses of the tormented faces behind it. For a brief moment, the procession was laid bare, their agony laid open to the world. But the respite was fleeting. The fog closed in again, swallowing the faces, muffling their screams, and enveloping them in its cold embrace. The city, too, seemed to sigh, its groaning buildings falling silent, as if respecting the finality of the scene. The small figure, drained and diminished, staggered forward, his form almost lost in the fog. The procession, with its grotesque array of heads, continued its descent into the heart of the ruined city. The city, now silent and still, became a tomb, sealing the fate of its inhabitants. The line of figures, swallowed by the mist, disappeared into the labyrinth of shadows and crumbling structures, leaving behind an eerie stillness. In the wake of their departure, the fog lifted slightly, revealing the desolate cityscape, a haunting panorama of decay and despair. The tall, gaunt buildings loomed like skeletal sentinels, their empty windows like vacant eyes staring into the emptiness. The cracked pavement stretched unbroken, leading to a horizon lost in the mist. The oppressive silence was broken only by the mournful cry of a distant siren, a lonely lament echoing the desolation of the scene. The city, now emptied of its spectral procession, stood as a monument to ruin, a testament to the horrors that had unfolded within its boundaries. It was a city suspended in time, trapped in an eternal twilight, a haunting tableau of a world lost to darkness. And so the city remained, a ghost in the mist, forever bearing witness to the descent of humanity, a chilling reminder of the horrors that can befall a world when reason and sanity succumb to the shadows. The story ends here, leaving the reader to contemplate the haunting imagery and unsettling implications of the narrative. The fate of the small figure and the meaning of the city's role in this macabre procession are left ambiguous, inviting multiple interpretations and a lingering sense of unease.